Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another Wonderkid watch. Today we are looking at Billy Gilmour. He's a player that was requested in the comments, so if you do have any requests, obviously stick them in there and I can happily take a look. I've got it all set up so it's nice and easy for me to do, so no problem at all. Make sure you check out the playlist though to see what is already being done and who's been there. But yeah, a shout out to Harvey Toytime for the suggestion of Billy Gilmour, a great suggestion as well. As you can see, starting the game, he is injured. He is out for 2 to 3 months at the start of the game, so it'll be interesting to see how that may hinder him going forward. But originally signed from Rangers for £500,000 to Chelsea. He's made 6 appearances last season, and he's a very good player. 15 passing, 15 technique, 15 first touch, 16 vision. A fantastic ball playing midfielder. Made 12 under 21 caps for Scotland, but I'm sure in no time he'll be playing for the national team. 19 years old at the start. Let's jump ahead and see how he's got on so far. Now 24 years old and 5 years on, £8 million. Billy Gilmour has made 2 caps for Scotland now, and his stats have started to show some real promise. At 5'7", his jumping reach isn't very high, but the 16 natural fitness is obviously very good for his longevity and how he can keep his physical stats especially up at a good level the later in years he gets. 18 vision, 16 technique and 16 passing, first touch 16 as well. All very, very nice for a ball player, and composure in there is nice as well. 11 tackling is not bad either, so he can stick a foot in every now and then, but you can see he's at standardly age in Belgium, which is interesting. So he obviously stayed at Chelsea for a little while, made 1 appearance there since previously, then was loaned out to Birmingham in League One and the Championship, which is very interesting, and he didn't perform too well, but he looks a hell of a player, and for a 19-year-old, or at this point probably about 2021, and then was sold to Standard for 1.6 million. This season, 2 goals in 3 games isn't bad at all, but certainly not quite as well as you'd probably have expected. He is playing in the centre of midfield in a 4-4-2, so I'm sure he's expecting to be that playmaker in there, as he looks like he's slightly deeper than others, but very, very interesting. Milestones wise, we can see there's not really been any competitions wins. He scored his first goal for Birmingham, and first international cap came against Sweden at age 21, but otherwise it's kind of nothing too notable at this stage. But we'll jump another 5, see how he's at 29, and take a look. 29 years old now, only made an extra cap for Scotland, which is quite surprising really, and you can see it does look like his stats have dropped off quite a bit as well. Maybe there's been an injury that's affected him. Can play a variety of positions, which is quite nice. Looks quite versatile, but at 29, only valued at 775,000. He is looking to come to the end of his contract with Villarreal now, having moved there on a free from Belgium. I mean, he did pretty well in for Standard, but he's only made 12 appearances for Villarreal in the last 3 years, which is probably why he's only made 1 appearance for Scotland since. Milestones wise, we can see nothing really of note. Obviously, he had the transfers go through. It's quite surprising. I'd have thought he'd have done a lot better. Maybe it was the injury at the start of the save that affected him so much so that he wasn't able to kind of really develop as the player that he wanted. As you can see, Villarreal aren't playing him at all. Well, he's played him 12 times in 3 years, which is not good enough, really. But there you have it. He's 29 and looking like he's declining already. Still decent, still not a bad player. Certainly a backup. I mean, it says regular starter for him, but he's clearly not. So that's interesting to see. Only 148 career appearances in the last 10 years, which is a bit of a shame. But we'll jump another 5, see where he's at. It might be time for him to retire, but we'll see. And if he sticks around or goes completely. Alright, so here we are then. It looks like he is retiring, or has retired, and it seems that it is a case that he'll just be leaving the game. There's no sign of him sticking around. Physically, looks awful. They are some really, really bad physicals. Even for 34, I wouldn't have said necessarily they'd be that bad. Mentals look okay, nothing spectacular. And then again, technicals really dropped off. in the last stages. So maybe the injuries were something that came into play. We'll have to take a look at that. But he did move a couple more times on a free. Went to Real Hispalis, otherwise known as Real Betis, as well. So that's not a bad signing for them. He played 26 games in his first year, did drop off again, and then moved to Lokomotiv Moscow, where again in 3 years he only played 7 games. So it's, I'm really sad for him. I thought this might be a player that could really develop and become captain, maybe even, of the Scottish football team, but hasn't actually performed too well injuries wise. No injuries? Is that the case? Maybe it's a case because he's retired, it's not showing them now. But again, never really won anything by the looks of it. He was in the seasonal best 11 for a couple of teams he's played for. There's obviously the transfers and a couple of landmarks, but nothing to note really. So ultimately, a bit of a disappointing one. It'd be interesting to see if you had control of Billy Gilmour and had him in your squad, if he'd maybe perform a bit better, have a few more Scottish appearances, anything like that. But in this scenario, he's been quite disappointing. Decent mentals and a couple of good stats in technique, passing, penalty taking and first touch, but nothing too fantastic. But there you have it. Billy Gilmour, the Wonderkid. We've seen how he seen how he does. I hope you did enjoy. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you leave a comment as to who else I should do for Wonderkid Watch, and we'll catch you next time.